Hello, I am Stephanie Joy, the attorney at All Things Social Security and Joy Disability Law. Your video is about to start. I just wanted to remind you that if you click the join button below, you can learn more about the memberships offered at a very affordable price that can give you a little more direct attorney answers to your questions. Have a great day and enjoy the video. Hey guys, Fraud Law Review. It looks like in 1 week, we have 2 people from New Bedford, Massachusetts in trouble for fraud. It looks like one is already guilty, found guilty. So I will give his name. The other one, I believe, was only charged. So we won't be going into him in terms of his name. But so check it out. Anthony Patterson, 62. So this was reported on June 13th. So that was, yeah, yesterday. 62 years old. He pled guilty. And here's what happened. For about 10 years, so 2013 to 2023, he collected, this must be what he pled guilty to, collected SSI. As you know, that's the welfare benefit. That wasn't even something that he paid in for, whether he was eligible for it or not. He collected SSI benefits, which are only available, as they say here, to people with limited financial means. During 2 different interviews with the SSA, back in 2012, probably before he first started receiving SSI, and again in 2022, he made sworn false statements regarding his marital status and living situation. Now, I know people have often asked me, why do they have to know this? Why do they have to know that? Because marital status and living situation affects your household income and resources. So it helps define whether or not you are poor enough for collecting the SSI welfare from the taxpayer funds. So in any event, it sounds like he lied probably and said he was not married as defined by the SSA, which is generally as defined by the particular state you're in. SSA embraces the state law, so different states can vary. That way, his spouse's income would not be counted, even though that spouse could be bringing in a ton into the household and the person is living not like a poor person in need of SSI. And living arrangements, again, that would probably be including because that spouse probably lived in the house. I'm speculating on that last part, but that's probably what it is. He collected over $90,000 in SSI welfare that he was ineligible to receive. The report goes on to say, and again, as you know, this is the Office of Inspector General who reports on these. The charge of theft of the government money provides for up to 10 years in prison, 3 years of supervised release, and a fine of $250,000 or twice the gross gain or loss, whichever is greater. So twice his gain would be about 185,000. So he could actually get a fine of up to $250,000. His sentencing, I don't believe, has taken place yet. I would be curious. Now, I wonder what you guys think. If the sentence for a charge, well, I guess if it's one charge, they charged him once for the whole 10 years of repeated lying. You almost feel like you could get him for every month he did it, because every month he took something that wasn't his. Now that might seem like overkill, yes, because the person would never be out of jail ever. So I'm not saying that would be appropriate, but it is funny. Like, there's a person who does it for 5 years before they get caught, get the same charge as someone who did it for 20 years and then got caught. In this case, it's 10 years, then got caught. Just curious minds want to know. I'm sure the sentencing is not very equal or even-handed because you have different subjectivities in there. There is guidelines though, so that's where we get those basics from, I suppose, that it could be up to 10 years, but not more. Again, could there be more than one charge, or must they take the entire gamut of 10 years or 7 years or whatever the person did, and it can only be one charge? Oops, something dropped. I don't know. What do you think? I'll talk to you later. Oh, let me go to the other one before I do that. Let me go to the other New Bedford. Pardon me, guys. My mouse is a little slow. This is looking to be over $450,000 Ouch. This is veterans disability benefits. Oy vey. Okay. Again, we're in New Bedford. That's a real active town for this stuff. I don't feel like these are the first ones. This is dated June 7th. And I think we've talked about New Bedford before. So for some reason, this area of Massachusetts is replete with con people. All right, so this one is saying, and really my mouse is not acting up very nice. This fellow was charged with stealing over $450,000 in disability benefits from the Veterans Benefits Administration. Okay, so this fellow, I'm not going to say his name because it does not look like he is found guilty yet, but he's 71 years old and he's charged with one count of the theft of government benefits and one count of conspiracy to steal government benefits. He is currently in custody on unrelated charges. So he's might be a bad egg all the way around and will appear in federal court in Boston. Well, looks like he just appeared 2 days ago, if he showed up. Well, he was in custody, so I'm thinking he should. According to the charging documents, oh my gosh, he stole from a victim with ALS. You know, ALS, it is amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, otherwise known as Lou Gehrig's disease. It is a disease near and dear to my heart. I lost a friend in our 40s to that. A police officer friend who I grew up with. And we know plenty of people, right? Don't we? I don't know if it's a more prevalent disease than it used to be, or it's just now more known by the rest of us due to social media and such. But in any event, it says shortly after the victim's ALS diagnosis in August of 2015, the Veterans Benefits Administration approved the victim's application for disability benefits and awarded him approximately $8,300 in monthly payments. The VBA began issuing the payments in September 15 with monthly checks mailed to the victim's former residence in New Bedford, where he had resided with the Perps relative and others prior to his hospitalization. This is really really sad. It is alleged that between 2015 and 2020, while the victim was hospitalized for ALS, this perp, the 71-year-old man, and others received monthly VBA disability checks intended for the ALS patient, veteran, and deposited those checks into bank accounts that they controlled. The perp allegedly first deposited the disability checks into a bank account in his own name, and then began depositing the checks into a bank account that he and others fraudulently opened in the name of the victim. Shortly after depositing the disability checks, the perp, I'll just call him Mr. Perp, allegedly withdrew the funds in cash and used the money for personal expenses. In total, there was more than $450,000 in stolen benefits intended for the ALS victim. They're going on to a little bit of military history. I'm not going to go into it, but it's about, you know, the 80-year ago anniversary we had this week for, you know, the beaches of Normandy. Let's see. They go on to say how despicable it was. Yes, we know that. Okay, this is what I wanted to get to. The charge of theft of government benefits. Again, we just said this in the last one. Provides for a sentence for up to 10 years in prison, 3 years of supervised release, and a fine of $250,000 or twice the gross gain or loss, whichever is greater. If the gross gain was $450,000, I'd like to see him get whacked with a $900,000 fine. That would be my druthers anyway. For the charge of conspiracy to steal government benefits, I presume that's when he was working with some other perps, as we described previously in this report. That would get him up to 5 years in prison, 3 years of supervised release, and another fine of $250,000. Sentences are imposed by the federal district court judge, blah, blah, blah. We don't know when that's going to be. So, what do I think? I don't think 10 years is more than enough. I think it's too little for what he did. It wasn't, not that the other Bedford man wasn't bad. They're both very, very bad. The other one, I'm just thinking mentally here that, some people seem to justify their behavior, which doesn't work because it's just a general fund. There's no face to the victim. Here we have an ALS victim. Like that person has not been the victim of some shitty luck to begin with. Oops. Some crappy luck to begin with. It's really, I think he should get the stiffest. Probably he should never get out of jail. Is he a violent person? Probably not. Do we only put violent people in prison? If we don't put other people in prison who do these terrible things, we will continue to have these terrible things. So that's what I think. I don't know how much would be appropriate. I don't think 10 years is sufficient for what he did to another person and to the system. Okay, that's me. Can you tell? I'm very defensive of the ALS folks. All right, I'll talk to you later. Bye.